Are you ready to dive deep into the intersections of technology, law, and business? Catch the Tech Intersect Podcast on our new Advantage Evans YouTube channel. Whether you're connecting on the go or binging episodes from the comfort of your home, you'll never miss a moment again. Plus, you'll experience all types of exciting shorts, special events content, breaking news lives, and the comprehensive learning series. Subscribe today, hit the bell for notifications, and enjoy podcast videos and more. Use the link or search for Advantage Evans on YouTube to find our channel so you can watch, learn, and engage where insider meets impact. See you there.
So if you think it's great to sit on the sidelines, I think you need to reimagine what it looks like to keep up with the Joneses. And by Joneses, I mean the BlackRocks. If they were all against it until they were for it, I argue that we need to take a second look at what this means for us personally and professionally. Is there something in your profession? Are you a lawyer? Are you a financial advisor? Are you in a real estate? Are you a leader in business where you need to start to make decisions about what this means for your bottom line and your balance sheet as well?
Welcome to Tech Intersect. I'm your host, Tanya Evans, and my life and work exist at the heart of law, business, and technology. Yeah, I've earned a few fancy titles and degrees over the years, but the bottom line is I'm a writer, speaker, teacher, and lifelong learner, and I'm really excited that you've joined me on this journey. So what is Tech Intersect? Well, it's authentic, empowering conversations with really interesting guests who demystify complex topics to prepare you for the future, because your future is now. And it exists where law, business, and tech intersect. Get ready to listen, learn, and leverage. Let's get started.
Tanya's producer, Alicia, here today. In today's rapidly evolving digital landscape, cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology have emerged as transformative forces, reshaping industries and creating new opportunities for professionals and investors alike. However, navigating this dynamic space requires a deep understanding of the legal, financial, and social implications at play. Today, Dr. Tanya Evans is going to be talking us through valuable insights and strategies for those who are seeking to stay ahead of the curve in 2025. Join us as she delves into the key developments, challenges, and opportunities that lie at the heart of this crypto revolution.
Welcome, everyone. I am Dr. Tanya Evans. I'm a tenured professor at Penn State Dickinson Law School with a co-hire appointment at the Penn State Institute for Computational and Data Sciences. I'm also the founder and the owner of the Advantage Evans FinTech Academy that is now also developed into a consulting firm as well. I focus at the intersection of intellectual property and new technologies. I do have a background also in municipal finance and estate planning. None of those things seem to go together until I entered the space that we know of digital assets, of cryptocurrencies. I entered the space in 2017, a huge skeptic, huge. And my skepticism was more fully informed by the power, the promise, and the opportunities. But I never took off my day cap of being a lawyer to also fully understand and appreciate the risks, the pitfalls involved in digital assets, in investing, and even on the side of innovation and building. And what I know for sure in my Oprah voice is the greatest risk beyond, of course, scammers, but really the greatest risk in the digital assets and blockchain technology space is lack of information. That for the first time, particularly if you are part of a systemically marginalized population, Black and brown communities, women, LGBTQ communities, any communities in particular that have been systemically marginalized, the result of that marginalization is extraordinary challenges or even more challenges than the average person to engage in and benefit from investment and professional opportunities that create not just an income, but wealth, and wealth that endures, intergenerational wealth. And it's always kind of this big ticket item that people speak about, this idea of intergenerational wealth, but it really starts with each one of us. And the idea of managing risk, being aware of risks, moving away from the quadrant where you don't know that you don't know, or even at least that you know that you don't know, but also not getting too far ahead and not too far behind. So the purpose of this year-end state of crypto, particularly after the most recent election in the United States, is really, really important. Again, we are entering the age and the era of extremely pro-crypto innovation, legislative session in a bipartisan fashion. I'll talk more about that in a second. The United States has also taken kind of a hit to some of the other freedoms that are often inextricably linked to and with financial freedoms. And so getting ahead of that, getting your profession and your portfolio in order to withstand and to not just survive or hold on, white knuckling your way through. And then that's not even a political statement. That's a reality of a dramatic shift in administrations. It's understanding what the major developments in crypto have been in this past year, quite honestly, in a bipartisan fashion. I will say for the past 4 years under the Biden administration, even with some pro-innovation policies, a decidedly anti-crypto approach that brought the industry to a fevered pitch under the leadership of those at Gemini and Coinbase. It makes me think of Brian Armstrong. It makes me think of the folks that created standwithcrypto.com. That makes me think of super PACs like Fairshake that were flooding the zone in terms of political contributions to unseat anti-crypto candidates and incumbents. And they were successful in doing that. It was a dramatic shift of the Senate control, what seems to be a loss by the Democrats of the House as well. I've been a very vocal supporter of Harris for Crypto. Vice President Harris had 107 days to figure all of this out, get up to speed, keep her day job, and also move forward to generate a campaign, be everywhere and all the things to all the people. I'm very proud of what she was able to do, but one thing that didn't hit was a substantial proof of pivot. As I write about, I'm a contributor to Forbes. And so you can go to Forbes.com and search my name, and you will find, dozens of articles that I wrote during the election, in particular, covering the election, covering whether or not there would be sufficient proof of pivot to get single issue voters in the crypto space to make a different choice. And when you are involved in an election that will turn on razor thin margins, small communities can have an outsized impact, particularly when they also are well funded. And so that's where we find ourselves, to be sure. So let me start here and kind of give a high level review. Continue to do your own research as you decide what upskilling and reskilling might mean for you in this environment. As a matter of regulation and policy, let's just kind of talk about the 2024 in review, some of the major developments in crypto. Definitely 2024 was a major, a pivotal season for crypto regulations. It was marked by the introduction of the FIT21 crypto bill, and that piece of legislation that originated in the House signaled a shift in the Biden administration's stance that really aimed to strike a balance between innovation and consumer protection. It's something that Democrats tend to lead with, this idea of consumer protection. We know certainly in 2021/2022, there was the crypto contagion years, I will say. One, because you had many people who were first-time investors, period, let alone first-time purchasers of cryptocurrency, seeing all of the advertisements, all the commercials. You had major sports venues now being named crypto.com and things of that nature. You had so many celebrities talking about crypto in general without having any idea what they were talking about. And also sometimes not letting folks know that they not only obviously were doing a commercial, but also had a vested interest in the outcome as an investor of a particular company. We also saw the kind of boom bust cycle of non-fungible tokens connected to artwork. I happen to be a big proponent of NFTs, but not everybody loves them. I actually thought of it more as just another method of investing in and supporting certain artists that I love rather than as an investment to flip those NFTs. That is a presentation for another day. But I'm just trying to set the context for why consumer protection is important. When people enter into an investment market without having all the details, without fully fleshing out or knowing enough about something to make a prudent choice. And what we also found, and I offer as a cautionary tale for you, if you're investing with a short-term mindset, crypto is not for you. Unless you are, I'm not a day trader, not on the crypto side and not even really on the stock side. Although I do enjoy swing trading, it takes a lot for me to sit down, to do charting, to read charts, to set prices, to enter a trade and exit a trade. And that's even just with stocks where, banks and the markets take days off. They leave work early. They don't show up evidently on the weekends. You have a time to breathe and to pause. Crypto and crypto trading, which I don't have the heart space for it. I'm a Gen Xer just trying to, get into heaven at some point. And my heart will not tolerate the volatility in the market. I'm not afraid of volatility. I believe it's a feature and not a bug. I know and have done presentations that do an overlay of the early days of various markets, the NICE, the NASDAQ, S&P 500 as well. They all started very, very rocky and even out over time as you get more regulatory clarity, as you have more entrants come in to participate. That always changes. And what we've seen, particularly for Bitcoin, and keep in mind, there are thousands of coins and tokens out there, most of them not worth the time or attention. But Bitcoin is the OG. It has a limited supply, a capped supply. Over 19 million Bitcoin are already in circulation. The rest won't be fully in circulation well beyond our lifetimes. But as more people come in and take notice and want to buy, the price continues to go up. Its number go up, 101. And so with that context, a lot of people got hurt by buying high and then getting afraid when the market inevitably starts to correct. And they sold very quickly. They lost their shirts. And then that's not fraud. That's not knowing markets. That's not appreciating a long-term strategy. And so that's on the investor side. So back to the idea of, or the legislation Fit 21, which you should listen out for the Senate version as we go into 2025. Fit 21 out of the House really sought to provide clearer guidelines for the industry, also fostering a competitive and more robust digital economy. Certain legal challenges have also highlighted the growing tension between the crypto industry and regulators. So there's some cases that you should keep in mind. And again, if you go to Forbes.com so that you can continue to read up on the articles that I've done on all the topics that I'm talking to you about today. I'm writing for a number of different outlets, but here's one place where you can subscribe to all of my posts, and then you will receive an update every time I publish something new. I write for Fortune and CoinDesk and Unchained Crypto and some other places, but I'm publishing quite regularly at Forbes. And so you can keep up on a lot of the law and policy stuff that I'm writing about. Back to some of the cases that I want you to keep on your radar. One, the binomial exchange case is really, really interesting. Binomial is an exchange that started the effort. Well, let me get at it this way. The CFTC last year approved a futures opportunity for Binomial. Based on that, Binomial then went to the SEC, or the Securities and Exchange Commission, run by Gary Gensler. I'll say more about him in a moment. And they wanted to self-certify their exchange and received feedback from the Securities and Exchange Commission that there were a number of problems and that they may be in some legal jeopardy by way of an enforcement action. Now, Binomial did not receive what we call a Wells notice, which is a formal letter from the SEC signaling its intention to pursue enforcement action against a regulated party. But an interesting thing that Binomial has done that is similar to what crypto.com has done, I'll say more about that in a minute. Binomial decided to get off of its proverbial heels and onto its toes. It sued the SEC for declaratory judgment as to whether the SEC was reaching beyond its statutorily prescribed powers. Stated more simply, whether or not the SEC is acting in an arbitrary and capricious manner, whether it is not entitled to regulate anything other than securities, and to show and prove that, in fact, Binomial is involved in the exchange of securities. This is a big, big deal. Crypto.com, after receiving a Wells notice, also sued the SEC. And those approaches, I think that we're going to start to see more and more in 2025 and beyond. We see a very aggressive, very proactive industry right now that is kind of mad as hell and not going to take it anymore. We've seen the impact of that on election day. And I think we'll continue to see that unless and until the Congress sits down and fashions new legislation to recalibrate the framework for the administrative state. And let me pause there for a moment to explain briefly, because I also teach administrative law, something that I think many people in the crypto industry don't fully understand, and maybe just most people in general. I'm not going to go totally schoolhouse rock on you, but I think it's important, particularly for those of us who are professionals, to really understand the tripartite system of government, the three branches of government that we have, and how they all work together, how they are meant to be checks and balances on each other, and how, in my words, not, in my humble opinion, how dangerous it can be when any party controls all three branches of government. The first branch, as articulated in the Constitution, is the Article 1 branch, the first branch of government to be created, and that was Congress. It wasn't the presidency, it was actually Congress. And based upon that, Congress essentially makes the laws of the land, right? I'm just a bill. I'm only a bill. I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill. All right, check it out. And based upon that, some of the laws that Congress creates are actually what we call enabling legislation or organic acts that create administrative agencies to actually do the day-to-day work of applying those laws. And in addition to that, and that would be an Article 2 part of a branch of the government. Article 2 is the executive branch. Basically, the president is the CEO of the country and has a working administration underneath him or her that will move forward the agenda based upon the laws of the land. Some of those laws not only create agencies, but tell agencies at pretty high level most times what the parameters of their powers are, the delegation of legislative powers to some administrative agencies. That's the reason that an agency like the SEC not only has the power of enforcement, which we've seen used far more, and this is problematic. And this is the reason that so many people are in the industry are upset with and confounded by the SEC. Lots of enforcement actions, but not a use of the agency's rulemaking authority. That rulemaking authority comes from the legislative branch that says, we're not subject matter experts, but we know this needs to get done. So we're going to create an agency of subject matter experts who actually do the day-to-day that is required. And we are going to trust them as subject matter experts to not only work within these parameters, but to fill in the gaps that we didn't fill in. Think of like the bricks in the mortar. And so the use of rulemaking authority is really, really important. This is what the industry has been pushing, pressing, and begging the SEC to do that it did not do, chose not to do that. Rulemaking would allow for the entire industry to have the rules of the road. Not to have to guess based upon enforcement actions on a case-by-case basis. A one-off to say, gosh, the SEC just sued this company successfully. Is my company like them? Their company? Are my facts like those facts? Will the SEC come after my company? It's not the same, but it's similar. And then they said, forget it, I'm going to a different jurisdiction. I don't even know if the jurisdiction is going to be better outside of the United States than this other country, but at least this country told me what the rules are. That caused a lot of crypto industry flight outside of the United States. And this has been the great concern that drove the crypto industry to be extremely aggressive in elections to change the nature of the legislative power and the top of the ticket to set a new policy point of view, a new policy direction that would inform the Congress in order to create new rules for the executive branch agencies. That's how it all is connected. All right. So hopefully that helps to understand what the heck is going on and why the crypto industry was so aggressive. Even as a member of Crypto for Harris, I understand it. I have other issues personally that I was more impacted by, and I made a different decision. Many single issue voters on the issue of crypto made a different choice. So this is where we are. This is where we are. All right. Final point about this, to continue to watch as companies no longer will wait for Congress to make a choice. They're going to force the judicial branch to say what should happen and have that be precedent for the SEC to start to back down. There's been at least one federal judge. I think there's two. I don't have this in front of me and I like to be accurate. So I'll just say this at a high level. At least one federal circuit judge has admonished the SEC for going above and beyond their statutory authority. And it was that case that led to the belated and reluctant approval of, I think, 11 spot Bitcoin exchange traded funds that the SEC prior to that decision was not interested in doing. That is how we got the exchange traded funds approvals in January of spot Bitcoin ETFs. What does that mean? People who buy these regulated products like any other ETF or ETP, we might say exchange traded product, you have exposure to the underlying asset. In this case, it's the spot price of Bitcoin, the retail trade of Bitcoin, without actually holding Bitcoin. Now, I'm an OG who loves Bitcoin, but I love both and. I don't like to have all my eggs in one basket. I will continue to buy Bitcoin. I will also say this is not legal or financial advice to you. I'm giving you a high-level overview of how things have come to be and the differences between buying the underlying asset itself, Bitcoin, versus an exchange-traded fund that holds Bitcoin and gives you exposure to it. And then that's where we have, even companies like BlackRock. You never think that BlackRock would be in crypto. I assure you they are.
Have you ever found yourself puzzled, wondering if cryptocurrency is just a fleeting trend, a scam, or perhaps the future? Hi, I'm Dr. Tanya Evans, and I'm here to introduce you to my new book, Digital Money Demystified, Your Ultimate Guide to Deciphering the Crypto Maze. As a legal policy and crypto education expert, I've crafted this book to cut through the chaos, debunk the myths, and tackle the FUD. That's fear, uncertainty, and doubt. From captivating headlines to meticulously sourced data, I guide you through the promises and the pitfalls of digital assets. With 12 chapters and 10 myths dispelled, Digital Money Demystified is designed for investors, business owners, and professionals eager to navigate the digital economy. It's more than just a book. It's a tool for economic empowerment that directs you safely and confidently from cash to crypto. Say goodbye to bewilderment and hello to enlightenment. Transform from crypto curious to confident. Sidestep those scammers and embrace the future of work, wealth, and creativity. Grab your copy of Digital Money Demystified today at the book's companion website, digitalmoneydemystified.com, or wherever books are sold. This is the right book, the right voice at the right time. Don't miss out on the digital revolution. Stop by digitalmoneydemystified.com now.
So if you think it's great to sit on the sidelines, I think you need to reimagine what it looks like to keep up with the Joneses. And by Joneses, I mean the BlackRocks. If they were all against it until they were for it, I argue that we need to take a second look at what this means for us personally and professionally. Is there something in your profession? Are you a lawyer? Are you a financial advisor? Are you in a real estate? Are you a leader in business where you need to start to make decisions about what this means for your bottom line and your balance sheet as well? All right. The next things in the key events and kind of some industry shifts are significant events like I mentioned Crypto for Harris, the town hall that we had and the advocacy we're doing very vocally and publicly and behind the scenes to start to move the needle for Vice President Harris and her team, which they did. We had for the first time or the second time, I think Donald Trump attended the Bitcoin conference and said he wanted to make Bitcoin great again and all of these great things with a great deal of support from folks like the Winklevoss brothers, the owners of Gemini and others as well from Sand with Crypto, and developed a very specific approach and policy that would be heavily pro crypto and pro Bitcoin. And as a result, those of us who were supportive of Vice President Harris said, we got to get up to speed and on this with a very compressed period of time to show some quote unquote proof of pivot. And what you'll see in my writings for Forbes and other outlets is that's how we started talking about waiting for this proof of pivot and what it would be. We had during that time folks even like Maxine Waters, who was deeply anti-crypto when she was leading the House and the ranking member as well in the House Financial Services Subcommittee. She was the head of the committee, the House Financial Services Committee. She had one time she was the leader, the ranking member, et cetera. Congress has definitely stepped into the spotlight. And one of the things I wrote this year was also that as much attention as we give the president, the body that will make the biggest difference will ultimately be Congress. And so paying attention to who the congressional leaders are, once you have a particular party in power, they are the ones that get to name in consultation, probably with the National Committee, to start to pick out and select who the leaders of committees and subcommittees will be. And that's critically important because those leaders will determine what is even brought for discussion and certainly brought for a vote. Many bills die on the vine in subcommittee, never to see the light of day. So leadership at the top of the ticket drives those who would be empowered ultimately from Congress in order to start to seed these committees and subcommittees. Congress, and we have a lot of bipartisan support for crypto. We have an increasing number of Democrats who are there now. And that was before the writing was on the wall because of the election, now even more so. When you can have someone like a Sherrod Brown out of Ohio lose his seat because of campaign dollars coming out of the crypto industry, we can have folks like Jamal Bowman and I can't remember some of the other folks I wrote about it. So definitely check out Forbes.com who lost their seats they were primaried. And every time that happened and you saw a ton of ads, you rarely, if ever, heard crypto mentioned. So a lot of times people ask me, I didn't see any crypto ads. What do you mean crypto dollars and crypto money? The ads almost never mentioned the more controversial aspect of where the money was coming from the crypto industry. And we're highlighting issues around immigration and some of those hot button issues as well that people leaned into. So you weren't always going to see crypto being mentioned in these ads, but that was the money that was behind it. There's a ton of money. I personally do not like money in politics, but I'm not in charge. So we have to work with the rules that we have now. I think what will happen because of congressional dominance in moving forward legislative initiatives, I feel like it should shift or at least diminish the executive dominance here over this topic. Because I'm concerned about the face of crypto. If any president becomes the face of crypto, then the opposing party will just oppose it just because. And I think that's bad for crypto. Crypto is always going to be political because anytime you're dealing with politicians and the allocation of resources, that's political. But it doesn't have to be partisan. And that's where Dems lost in this cycle. And my hope is that we have a back to bipartisan initiatives and focusing on the best interests of the industry. And by best interests, I don't just mean number go up. There's a deeper responsibility if we have the people's money that the people should be reflected in that, not just replicating some of the systemic ills of the few and the elite who are not only driving the agenda, but also not doing so in a way that also highlights the realities of grassroots learning and education, and not just about investing, but building opportunities as a matter of innovation. And so I'll leave that there. Next, I want to talk about why 2024 kind of marks this turning point. I started at the top of the hour with my remarks that, this is the age of Bitcoin. The age of Bitcoin has arrived. And what I mean by that is the fact that Bitcoin that was first launched in January of 2009 and Bitcoin's evolution from literally being worth zero to being worth something when someone paid for 2 pizzas, right? That was like the first retail purchase with Bitcoin. We now have large financial institutions. They are increasingly integrating Bitcoin into their operations in particular because Bitcoin is a commodity. I think it's settled law now that Ethereum is also a commodity, although the SEC pushed back vehemently on that. And as an aside, I think ETH is a really interesting example of something that started as an unregulated security because they initiated an initial coin offering. They used an initial coin offering or an ICO to fundraise for something and then use their efforts in order to get a return on investment. Like that's a classic security case with an investment contract. It was unregulated at the time, but by the time the SEC caught up to those activities, it became very, very clear that it was fully decentralized, that we are no longer relying on someone else's efforts in order to turn a profit. It's fully decentralized, and that sometimes that test can be problematic, but it's kind of the best one we have now. This idea of no centralized coordination for the benefit of others in order to turn a profit. And that comes from the Supreme Court case named Howie after a company that ran an orange orchard. I will not go down the rabbit hole of Howie, but you should know that the Howie test comes out of a Supreme Court case of the same name. This year's events, as like the culmination with this election, has really reaffirmed Bitcoin's unique proposition in the digital economy. It is a fixture. You can see on CNBC and Bloomberg in the ticker, you'll see every other market, and you now, and have been for at least the last few years, I would say, to see ticker symbols for Bitcoin, for ETH, for XRP, and the like. And if you'd like to do your kind of due diligence, you can go to coinmarketcap.com. You don't pay anything for it. I'm not, sponsored by them. It's completely free, but it is the aggregator of every data point in our industry. And so you can see all of the historical data of every coin and token, every exchange, every DeFi project will be there. And actually, I would trust those links at CoinMarketCap before I would trust myself to search online to find a coin or token, because oftentimes you can end up in the wrong place and be SOL with that, to be sure. So this is not a passing fad. I talk about it in my book, Digital Money Demystified. There are a few copies left of the book before I go on at some point to my second edition. So if you have not already purchased Digital Money Demystified, it is available wherever books are sold. If you can still get your hands on them that way, I have a few signed copies. But anyway, the digital economy is maturing. Bitcoin's importance continues to and will only grow. It has cemented its place in particular as the cornerstone of the global Web3 ecosystem. And what we will continue to see around the globe is discussions by governments of reducing their, the word that's coming to my mind is at first addiction to, but I want to say something different. I want to say their reliance on the dollar around the world and looking for a new global reserve. What will that global reserve be is anyone's guess. But, if I were to guess, you will start to see something that is not dependent upon a particular government to issue. And we'll start to look to something that is not beholden to borders. What is that? That is cryptocurrency at a high level, but Bitcoin in particular. So continuing to make strides as will, and this is the question without an answer I have, but I ask you to reflect on it. What will the new global reserve currency be? And my thesis right now is we are seeing the beginnings of the evolution of a global reserve currency not beholden to a border. Let's stick a pin in this date. We'll come back. In fact, if you join my cohort for the entire 2025 year of professionals who, in addition to going through my From Cash to Crypto program, will be offered other professional opportunities to stay ahead of the curve. So many people are just starting to hear this and figure it out and realize that this information is a need to know, not a nice to have. And so what will you do as a professional, not only personally looking at your own portfolio, but what does this mean for your business? What does this mean for upskilling, reskilling? What does this mean from going from an intrapreneur, someone who's adding value to someone else's institution, organization, firm, and doing it for yourself? This is the opportunity to start to evaluate that. And so I wanted to put together a well-curated invitation only, because I can only take so many people, experience for the entire year. You go through my program, but also work with me and some of my colleagues as well. So look out for that information coming up soon. One thing I also want to say is that the regulatory landscape is solidifying. It is, it's a dovetail to what we started with and talked about earlier, because particularly here in the United States, we have regulatory clarity that will emerge in 2025 and beyond. We have governments worldwide that are drafting policies, balancing innovation and compliance. We have firms and companies that now have to reimagine what risk looks like in this new Web3 economy. They have no answers. They also don't have any fundamental appreciation of the underlying technology or the point of it all. So I don't know how they're going to figure out how to advise and advance the agendas of their clients and customers when they don't know what the heck is going on. For those who are here now and who will listen later, you will already be ahead of the curve because you are asking the questions. And what I offer to you is taking a deep dive at the existing area of your expertise to find out the intersection of your area of expertise and blockchain and artificial intelligence and digital assets. And also the combination, one of the articles I wrote for Forbes is about decentralized artificial intelligence, kind of like the intersection of blockchain meets AI to solve the ills of both of them, where maybe blockchain falls down in one respect and AI is not meeting the mark in terms of the management and securitization of data. The intersection of those, I think, is one of the biggest things that will come out of this year and into the next. And also something called DPIN. And when you are looking at decentralized public infrastructure networks, which is so critically important. And we're starting to hear a lot about that. Cities, municipalities, states, countries, regions will have to figure out how to manage this, particularly when we see this seismic shift at the environmental level and change in politics. Decentralization is going to be critically important in a range of different areas. And so that is going to be on the radar. And what will the regulations and regulatory clarity yield for new opportunities, new business opportunities, new professional opportunities, the ability to have public-private partnerships as governments really start to grapple with this. We have seen in this past year unprecedented collaboration between policymakers in the crypto industry for sure, not just here in the United States, and we're a little bit behind the curve, but around the world. It makes me really excited what's happening with various countries in the Caribbean, for example, in South America, certainly in Singapore, the UAE as well. So this is something where you will see Web3 and AI convergence really come online. Final point here, the integration of blockchain and AI technologies really is reshaping industries from healthcare to finance. I mention those in particular because those are both very heavily regulated industries. So every time someone says, oh, this is unregulated, you can't have a product in a market that is already heavily regulated and not have regulation. The question is whether or not you have clarity that will allow innovation to robustly develop without harm to others while people are kind of tinkering and failing forward. What you don't want is destabilizing markets. You don't want market harm. You don't want consumer and investor harm, but you also want to be able to support innovation. And I think the proper calibration of that on both sides of the aisle here in the United States, I think will lead to, my prayer is a unified voice on this particular topic. One of the final things that I wanted to raise is just some of the top reasons to get ahead of the curve. And now instead of focusing kind of on portfolio, I'll focus on professionals. What we've seen and I'm constantly reading the tea leaves and constantly reading the headlines and writing and thinking and kind of rubbing my temples about like where we are going from here. The transformation of legacy industry by the digital economy is just unfathomable, really. And professionals that want to not go the way of Blockbuster when Netflix came on the scene with the gangster lean, are really understanding. And let me get it this way. You don't have to understand every niggly detail about blockchain. I'm a non-technologist. I call myself tech adjacent. You do not have to know all the things about all the things. Anything you want to know, since we are in like the post-information age, there's like we're drinking out of a fire hose of information. There is no shortage of information. We actually, I think, have to not even dial it back, but now, with this explosion of information that we have so much information, you can't find anything. How do you curate an experience where you get what you need, when you need, based upon the skills and the information you need at any point in time? This is not just about the idea of getting us a large liberal arts education. And I'm a professor. I love education. I'm a lifelong learner. That's just not the nature of business today. What we are focused on today is the skilled professional, the professional that comes with credentials and with skills that immediately adds value when people are scratching their heads trying to figure out what the heck is going on. The folks at the top, or if you're already in your C-suite, try and have this conversation with them and then report back to me about how well that goes. We are not ready, but you can be. Ways to do that, you're upskilling, you're staying relevant, you are learning the language so that you can spot the issue. This is something that we teach at the law school. It's not that I walk around with every law in my brain, but I'm an excellent critical thinker. I can put the dots together. I can spot the issue. I can know when I'm out of my own league and need to rely on other professionals. I know how to curate and ask the right questions. And now we have technologies I certainly didn't have in law school. The combination, I've trained my own chat GPT. I have my own GPT. You can find it at cryptolawguide.ai. In fact, help me kick the tires. I'm still training it to think like me. Some of my best conversations are with myself, my little GPT, because it's a way for me to continue to learn. I don't imagine I'll ever do some full scale project per se, but my ability to sit down and teach myself in this information age how to construct my own AI assistant, I'm ahead of the game. I'm ahead of the game. I know what I don't know. There's some things I don't know that I don't know, but I know enough to have created this and be able to have this conversation, spot the issues, and make my life better, faster, and less expensive in order to get from point A to point B. You can be this person. You can be this person in your business, in your firm, in your company, in your organization, at your school. And so it's really essential for leadership in law and finance and healthcare and technology and education and the like to proactively acquire the expertise that is going to really future-proof your career so that you continue to add value. I lead a life that is not just about me, but I have to be my best self so that I can be of service to others, that I can use my time and my talent and my treasure in order to kind of leave this world and people and places and things better than I found it. You cannot do that if you don't know what's going on. You cannot do that if your head is in the sand. And so understanding the landscape, staying connected to the headlines, using the resources that I continue to share in whatever way, this will be a way for you to really stay ahead. So final point for professionals, if you need to embrace digital transformation, stay on the list, look out for opportunities. If you're interested in learning more about the cohort that I'm going to have in 2025, I'll share some information in email there. We can start a dialogue about what your industry is, what you're looking for moving forward personally and professionally, and whether that might be a good fit for you going forward. And then finally, for investors, if you've taken a step away from crypto or you've reached a plateau or just the fact that the price of Bitcoin and some of those top 10 coins and assets were moving sideways for so long since 2022 or 23, then it kind of started creeping up, but it was very, very slow and incremental. And then we see this boom to above $90,000, heading toward 100,000. Not legal or financial advice, but some of the experts who are reading the tea leaves of the price of Bitcoin in particular, and trading off of the news and the exuberance and enthusiasm of a pro-Bitcoin and crypto administration, we're seeing macroeconomics play themselves out. What I'll also offer to you as part of that may also be a hedge against inflation, concerns about impending recessions here in the United States if tariffs are actually introduced and enacted in a way that has been promised by the incoming administration, the cost of goods going up and that price being reflected in the elevation of prices across the board. A hedge against inflation is what people think about when they think about Bitcoin. A hedge against opportunity sometimes is what people think about with Ethereum, because Ethereum is the oil that runs the Ethereum virtual machine. It is the lifeblood of decentralized finance. It is inextricably linked to all of the tokens that record their transactions to the Ethereum network. All sorts of layer 2 solutions to accelerate the processing and DAOs and all sorts of other things. They inherently rely on a couple of things. One, ETH, another, the stablecoin Tether that is inextricably linked for liquidity. Stablecoins, you're going to hear stablecoin legislation coming out of Congress, or at least being discussed in Congress, to have greater, not just control, but clarity around stablecoins. What are those? They are pegged to a particular asset. Many of them are pegged to the dollar. You have one that is pegged to the euro or other currency. So it will maintain its value of roughly $1. And you won't experience the volatility that scares some folks. Even though I don't think volatility is bad, it allows you to calibrate your risk. But you also need to think about whether my dollar will still be $1 tomorrow and what the benefits of stablecoins would be, in addition to investing in and holding for long periods of time Bitcoin and thinking about some of those other things. And I want you to really be cautious about thinking that, oh gosh, Bitcoin is at 91, 92, 93, going to 100,000 is over. Game over. I missed my opportunity. People said that when I first got in, it was in the 10 to 17 to 19 run up. And when I created Advantage Evans Academy, that was in June and July of 2020. Go back and look at that price now. And then the next price run, people are like, oh, it's too late. It hit 19,000, 20,000. I guess I'm out. And then the next one, oh, well, it went up to 62. Too late. I missed out. And then literally before I jumped on here, I was like, 93,000? Please, you all, listen to me now and hear me later. Think of it, if you need to, as investing in a retirement account. I'm not using that to say this should be your retirement account, but follow me for a second. Every month, or maybe every 2 weeks, or whenever you get paid, if you're working for someone else, or if you're working for yourself and you pay yourself first, you are automatically contributing to a retirement account. The same amount. I never see it. I don't even miss it. And then one day, evidently, when I'm in a rocking chair, I'll look back and it's like, wow, that was really good. Glad I did that every 2 weeks, every month, every whatever. Think about dollar cost averaging, buying the same amount over time. This is something that you would learn in my program From Cash to Crypto, where, there are opportunities either when you experience a dip, which means you kind of have to watch the price, experiencing a dip. And when everybody's scared, that's when you get greedy. When everybody gets greedy, that's when you might be a little scared. That's from Warren Buffett, not me. And some of the strategies that you use, I want you to move with power. I want you to move with purpose. I want you to be well informed, because the risk comes in the lack of information. When you don't know, that means scammers can take advantage of you. That means you miss opportunities. That means you don't advance in your career. That means you don't leave things better than you found them, namely your portfolio and your profession. So approaching this in this way and having this information, keeping this at the fore of your mind, knowing that the digital economy is no longer the future, it is literally right now, knowing that professionals and investors have to act now in order to capitalize on the opportunities when most people still don't know what's going on. So you're already ahead of the curve by being here with me today. Start where you are, nothing more than you have to lose, but you have to have a little skin in the game. Where you spend your money, your attention will follow. You don't have to buy $92,000 Bitcoin. You can literally buy $100. I've done worse with $100. You could do that at any trusted platform that you're connected to. You can use, I'm not sponsored by any of them. I think I should be. You can use Venmo to buy Bitcoin. You can use Cash App literally right today. You can do that in PayPal. You can do it in Robinhood. You can get you a Coinbase account, Gemini, Kraken, you name it, and start there. Because then it's like, okay, now I have it. Now what? Then you come see me.
Thank you so much for listening to the Tech Intersect podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you love it, please tell the world. If not, go ahead and tell me. And in either case, drop a comment or ping me on social media at IPProfEvans with the hashtag TechIntersect. And finally, a quick reminder on digital safety. There are a lot of scammers out there impersonating me and others, and I need your help. Now hear this. And remember, I will never slide into your DMs to say peace and blessings or hey, and I will never reach out to solicit your time or your money on social media like ever. I'm not a trader. I am an educator and an attorney licensed in 4 states. Thank you very much. I'm here to inform, inspire, and empower. No cap and definitely no Forex. So be careful, make good choices, and remember, I developed an entire free masterclass about the topic of digital safety in the crypto space. So check out secureyourcryptobag.com for more information. That's secureyourcryptobag.com. All right, that's all for this episode. Until next time, continue to shine. Hey there, Tech Intersect listeners. Have you ever encountered naysayers claiming crypto is too volatile, a total scam, or a hacker's paradise? Well, it's time to dispel these persistent myths and reveal the truth. It's exactly why I wrote Digital Money Demystified, available now wherever books are sold. And this book is your golden ticket from being crypto curious to radiating crypto confidence. Navigate the crypto world with clarity and conquer the chaos. Get your copy today to learn about my journey, separate fact from fiction, and maybe even embark on a transformative journey yourself. Don't stop there. Enhance your learning experience exponentially. Join the DMD Insiders Membership Club. It's a gateway to premier coaching, engaging community, and unparalleled content that complements the insights in the book. Together, we'll unlock the potential of digital money and stride confidently into the future. Visit digitalmoneydemystified.com, grab your guide to the crypto universe, and become an esteemed member of our Insiders Club. Let's decode the digital dollar and invest in your crypto-savvy future right now.